All right, so we're reading Sri Nisargadatta's I Am That, and we're on chapter 51, Be Indifferent to Pain and Pleasure. All right, be indifferent to pain and pleasure. Have no attachments to them. Accept them as they come. All the opposites, all of the opposites, because opposites are of body-mind. They're not of you. And so step outside of them and observe them. Don't get pulled into them, because if you get pulled into them, well, then you're in them. You've got up and downs happening all around you constantly and battering you, battering your inner peace and causing you to forget something that you might not yet have remembered, that you are divine and that you are bliss itself, wisdom itself. All right. So our questioner, uh, we'll start with the question. We actually were on the answer last weekend, but we'll start with the question here. He says, by its very nature, the mind is restless. It can perhaps be made quiet, but it is not quiet by itself. Now, there's a couple things before we even address his statement there. There's a couple things in here to know. When we say things by its very nature, the mind is restless, right? Okay, it may be. But that is the mind that's intoxicated with me and mine. Right? The natural state of mind is absolutely calm because the natural state of the human being is realized, right? That's when we're in our natural state, we're a realized soul. And a realized soul's mind is not going to be restless. So when you are in your different conditions of mind that you get into, and I learned this with my dealings with depression years ago, and we got to say hello to Tunga, though, here, just a minute. Is she here? Joining. Tunga had a stroke a while back, and I think this is the first time that I'm seeing her. Ah, Tunga. Welcome, 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 welcome. All right. So that when you're in these different states of mind, and this I'm talking about, much of this I learned when I was working through depression and getting rid of that, is that you get into these states of mind. Hi, Tunga, good morning. Welcome. Wonderful, wonderful, heartwarming, wonderful to see you. Wonderful. So he's saying that the natural state of the mind is restless. And the reason I'm giving a warning on this is that whenever we get into a state of mind, whenever you fall into depression, whenever you fall into lust, whenever you fall into anger, whenever you fall into jealousy, that looks like and feels like the natural state of your mind and that you're never going to get out of it. Right? I remember when I would get depressed, life itself would become meaningless. That the sources themselves that could pull me out became unreal, and I pushed them aside. And you make wrong assumptions about things. And this is why we practice. This is why we've been given a mantra, because the mantra is the air bubble that will always show you what's up and what's down, right? So when you get into those states, don't get into the states and start dealing with the states, throwing thoughts around, throwing things around. Stop, take a deep breath, take refuge in your ideal, and begin your mantra. And that will bring you to center. And from there, the awareness itself will take care of the situation with practice, right? With practice. And at some point, yes, at some point it's time for renunciation after you've done the discernment, and the only thing holding that holding that note to your back is your attachment to it. At that time, it's time to renounce. You bring in your renunciation to break the habit. The habit's the last to go, and that one is cut with renunciation. The letting go happens through discernment when you realize and understand by repeatedly looking at it, because we're kind of dumb because we don't pick this stuff up very quick. We have to burn our hand like 2,000 times before we realize we shouldn't touch the burner. And so here we are, right? How many lifetimes have we been touching burners? So when it comes to that point where you're just touching the burner, you know you shouldn't, you know it burns you, you've got that all figured out, but for some reason you're still in that habit. That's the call for renunciation. That's when you come in and chop, sever, right? Before that, you might do it if it's unripe. You can't let go of a thing before it's ripened, before it's time. So that's why we're patient. We just keep bringing the mind back, bringing the mind back. And that is in an effort to return to the natural state of mind, which is bliss, which is peace that passes understanding. So we ask questions like this, we say things like this because of our delusion. And I just want to highlight that so you don't get lost in your delusion by thinking it's bigger than it is. It's a paper thin veil. It takes nothing but silence and attention to tear it. So don't be overcome by it. Don't become hopeless in it. He said, by its very nature, the mind is restless. It can perhaps be made quiet, but it's not quiet by itself. Maharaj answers, Sri Nisargadatta, you may have a chronic fever and shiver all the time. It is desires and fears that make the mind restless. Free from all negative emotions, it is quiet. See, so he's telling us the same thing right there. You know, if you're sick, then you shiver, and that's the natural state of the body, you know, when you're sick and you've got a fever. But if you get rid of that sickness and that fever, that shivering goes with it. And so with egoism, when you shun that egoism, that noisy mind goes with it, right? Because it's all the concerns of the ego that are unnatural to the mind. Remember, pure mind that's pure, and Brahman, Ramakrishna say, are the same. And so the natural mind is Satchitananda, right? Just that isness when it's returned to its potential form, its noun form. That's natural mind. That's the natural mind. The infected mind is infected with me and mine, and that creates universes left and right, in reaction to those two little disturbances, me and mine, in there. The questioner says, well, you cannot protect the child from negative emotions. As soon as it is born, it learns pain and fear. Hunger is a cruel master and teaches dependence and hate. The child loves the mother because she feeds it and hates her because she is late with food. Our unconscious mind is full of conflicts which overflow into the conscious. We live on a volcano. We are always in danger. I agree that the company of people whose mind is peaceful has a very soothing effect, but as soon as I am away from them, the old trouble starts. This is why I come periodically to India to seek the company of my guru. All right. I'm going to let Maharaj answer this before I jump on it. And Maharaj says, well, you think you are coming and going. You think that you are passing through various states of mind. All right. Don't poo-poo this. It's very easy to say, oh, this is high philosophy and set it aside. There's some very practical things here, and we'll come back to it in a minute here. Right? So you think you're passing through these various states and moods. I see things as they are, momentary events presenting themselves to me in rapid succession, deriving their being from me, yet definitely neither me nor mine. Among phenomena, I am not one. I am not one, nor subject to any. I am independent, so simply and totally that your mind, accustomed to opposition and denial, that's the nature of egoism, by the way, right? Accustomed to opposition and denial, cannot grasp it. I mean literally what I say. I do not need oppose or deny, because it is clear to me that I cannot be the opposite or the denial of anything. I am just beyond, in a different dimension altogether. Do not look for me in identification with or opposition to something, right? So there he's given us an interesting way of seeing attachment and detachment. I am where desire and fear are not. Now, What is your experience? Do you also feel that you stand totally aloof from all transient things? Right? That's a big question. It's like, no, all right, not really. But this is the fact of it. This one of the greatest uh, powers is this knowing who you are, right? That's why that's the central question of the Vedanta. Who am I? What am I? Right? Because it's that question that leads you to this understanding. This practice that I keep harping on of going inside and learning to feel and distinguish the difference between you and your body, between you and your mind, between the mind and the body, to go in and just observe with full attention your inner world so that you can understand the boundaries in there and how it all works together, because that will be incredibly helpful to your discernment, right? The things that came to mind when it went in doing that practice for a while a few months ago was that number one, no desire ever arose from me, from the self, from the witness. All the desires constantly bubbling up from mind or body, all of them, all the time. And so as long as you think you're the mind or body, you're going to be full of desire and you're going to be thinking, oh my God, I've got so many desires. You don't have any desires. The self does not give rise to desire. The self is established in your silence. It's identified with potential, with isness, right? And it observes. It's just witness. That's who you are. You may not believe it. Doesn't matter. You're going to discover it. And as soon as you discover it, you'll find the source of your bliss. You'll find the source of your peace, that steady wisdom that overtakes you, that inner atmosphere of the shrine of your inner temple overtakes you, right? So it's going inside and one, finding out that no desire arises from you. Finding out number two, that there's that in that silence, there is a bliss that is inherent, unshakable, unchanging, and never goes away. The very presence of God for the bhakta, right? And the realization of self for the jnani, right? In there. So you realize those things. Again, you realize timelessness, right? You realize timelessness in that silence. You realize that the less you think, the less time exists. The more you think, time becomes a bondage. So time is really the rate of your thinking. You have a silent mind, time doesn't seem to time is irrelevant. You go into meditation, you open your eyes, you've been there for 3 hours. You're like, whoa, right? That's quiet mind. That's real meditation. Then if you've got a noisy, if you've identified with body mind and it's all running all over the place, you close your mind and you think you've been meditating for an hour and you open your mind and oh my God, it's been 8 minutes, right? Oh, the suffering of spiritual practice, right? So this is it. If you're in ego space, oh, that practice is a suffering. Oh my God, how can I control myself and sit here for a whole hour doing nothing, right? Just repeating a mantra. Oh my God, right? But once you get in and do that work and find your separation, then it becomes quite interesting. It can be an adventure at times, and that adventure turns into to just being stunned at what becomes apparent to you. You can't imagine that all of this was just hidden by a thought. How did you fit all of this behind a thought? That's amazing, Mother. Kept it hidden from me for 60 years behind a simple thought. Right? So he says, do you also feel that you stand totally aloof from all transient things? Because that's what we're trying to allow ourselves to see, right? It's not a doing because it's the truth of your moment right now. You are just witness right now, just as much as you will be on the moment you realize it. So it's not something you're going to become. Oh, I'm going to become a witness. No, you are only the witness right now, but you're not being a good witness. You're a witness that thinks that you're doing things. And you're a witness that thinks that you want things and that you're discontent because you're listening and you're holding on to all these thoughts as expressions of you. They're not. They're just noise. They're expressions of something much larger that you can worry about later. That will be another part of the adventure. But for now, be aloof. Right? And so he asks, do you stand aloof from all transient things? And the questioner, boy, I wish I had this kind of chutzpah. Yes, I do. Occasionally. And it's like, well, let's hit one of those occasionallys. Stop asking all these questions. Yes, I do occasionally, but at once a sense of danger sets in. I feel isolated outside all relationship with others. There's something going on there. You see, here lies the difference in our mentalities. With the Hindu, I hate this. With the Hindu, the emotion follows the thought. Give a Hindu an idea and his emotions are roused. With the Westerner, it is the opposite. Give him an emotion and he will produce an idea. Your ideas are very attractive intellectually, but emotionally, I do not respond. Okay. When your sense of self, if you feel like, mm, if your withdrawal, or okay, how to say this? Let's go with this. If your renunciation is focused on the things that you're leaving behind, then your renunciation is going to feel like a fence, and it's going to feel like you're trapped in a very small space, and it's going to be very difficult, and you're not going to be successful in it. If your renunciation is about running toward the better thing, there's freedom in it. There's expansion in it. And you're not trapped in a small fence of things that you're resisting, that you're pushing against, right? So your renunciation is not a pushing against the things that are unhelpful to you in your life. Your renunciation is about embracing the bigger thing, the better thing, and not having any time or fingers to pick up the lesser things, right? And so renunciation, your eyes are on what you're running toward, what you imagine you're running toward, the presence within, right? The love within. And that's the only way it can be successful. And here I get the sense, I'm getting the sense here, the way he talks about these. Oh, my goodness, we started earlier than we were supposed to. That's all right. So he gets it a little bit different. He says a sense of danger sets in. So his renunciation, his discernment inside is making him smaller because he's resisting contents of the mind, resisting body identity, right? But not knowing or not entering into a silence. So he's entering into a boundaried state that he thinks is something. So he's still dealing with the thought of himself rather than being, right? So he's got his thought among thoughts and he's constricting it and separating it from all the other thoughts rather than being the witness and observing thought separately altogether. So he's trying to take a thought of himself and separate it from the rest rather than being and separating from thought itself and observing thought. One leads to bondage, a horrible bondage, and the other leads to a sense of expansion, a sense of peace within you. So this whole thing about the Hindu approach and the Western approach, uh, there's a couple things about that. If that becomes too important to you, it becomes a bondage because you can't do anything about that. You can't work with that, and it's not true. There may be some Hindus that are put together this way and some Westerners that are put together that way. But anytime you say Westerners, you're just being prejudiced. And anytime you say, oh, Hindus, you're just being prejudiced. You've got your stereotypes that you're placing up there and making everybody accountable to them. We're humans. And yes, in general, there are groups in a very loose kind of way, but not to the extent that the ego wants there to be, right? And so everybody, when you meet them, gets a fresh chance. And if you can manage to give everybody you meet a fresh chance, not just the first time you meet them, but every time you meet them, life will be better. There will be less suffering for you, right? I remember I told that story one day. We had a new friend coming to the center in DC, and you know how when sometimes somebody's personality and your personality just sort of oppose each other. You really haven't even met them. You just energetically were like, mm. All right. And so this person, it had been like that for a while. They had come, and then one day I was walking through the living room, and they were sitting there, and I thought to I thought to myself there, oh, I don't like that person. And I walked through into the monastery area and I caught myself. I saw what I just did and I stopped and I said, mind, look what you've done. It's fine that person and you aren't perfect together. That's fine. But until today, you have always seen them as they were in the moment and just kind of let it be. You didn't make a decision or a judgment about them. Today, you created a narrative. Today you made it about ego. You created a narrative. I don't like that person. And now what does that mean? Every time I see that person now, I start from the base. I don't like you. Where is that going to go? What are you going to do with that? Right? So this is why I say egoism is just narrative, right? We've talked about that again and again. It's just story. And it's one story after another. Be very careful about those stories forming in you because those stories are your karma. Those define what you're going to have to live. And this is why Vivekananda tells us all the time, think not, that you are small. Think not that you are a sinner. Say to yourself always, I'm ever free, ever pure, loved of God. I am the infinite self, right? I cannot be contained. I cannot be wedded, burned, hurt, affected by the changing world. I am Satchitananda. He says, say that again and again and again and again, because that's the vidya, the karma of vidya. You're moving into the light, not away from it, right? So, and don't say things like, "Oh, I can't meditate. Oh, I'm so impure. Oh, I can't stand to sit in my meditation. Oh, it's so blah blah blah." You see, when you say things like that, they seem like descriptions of yourself, but they're not. They're the expression of your egoistic self. It's a repetition of a story that you now have to live. So become aware of your stories and see them as stories. And that's renunciation. See your stories as the discernment. Let go of your stories and be present, right? Return to the fresh moment, because that's the thing. In each moment, that's why that we always say you have no past and no future. Well, you're going to still remember a past and you're still going to remember a future, but you're not going to be defined by them. If in the moment you can understand that you are always free to do whatever you want, right? If you hate your job and it's horrible suffering for you and you simply can't do it another day, then don't. Don't. Get up and walk out and keep walking. And you're like, well, I don't know what else I would do. Well, keep walking until you figure it out. You know, you're always free. You are not
Yes.
defined by your yesterday and you're not trapped by your tomorrow. You're always free. Be creative. What is it about your job you don't like? Change it. Because chances are just moving jobs isn't going to do it. Because usually it's something in you that you've got to work through. Because wherever you are, there you are. If everybody else at your work hates their job, then it might be something going on at work. But if you're the one that hates your job and everybody else is just going on, well, there might be a different way you could do your job. Do your job for a different reason, right?
And Morat, we have to be so careful because in the senior living community, new people came in, and there's no way, if you make judgments right away, there's no way you can help them when they need the help. So we
Yeah.
have to be.
No, it's very true. Anytime we're in community, especially in Sangha, Sangha has to be, when you go to the temple on Sundays or go to church on Sundays or wherever you go on Sundays, if you go anywhere on Sundays, you don't go there to take, right? You go there to give the fruits of your practice. What are the fruits of your practice? Your sense of love. That's what Ramakrishna says. As is a person's meditation, so is his, as is a person's sense of love, so is his meditation, right? And so if you're practicing, then you're becoming loving. You're becoming your nature. So when you go and be with Sangha, you're not there to take, you're not there to get a lecture, you're not there to get instruction, to get encouragement. You're there to give the fruits of your practice. Why? How? By worshiping the divine in each of your fellow Sangites, each of your fellow practitioners. You're there to worship them by giving them the fruits of your practice, your encouragement, your love for them, your concern for their well-being, your best wishes, your general fond regard for them. That's why you're there. That's why you go to the temple, right? We go to the temple to give. And ultimately, we realize that we came to the temple, this temple, to give. And when we come to that place, it's a great relief when you realize there ain't nothing out there for you, but you've got a whole bunch of stuff inside to give. And that changes your focus. You stop living a hunger-based life and you start living an inspired-based life, a heart-based life, a love-based life. This is where we're going, and this is why we practice. And this is why we're asking the question, who am I? All right, because this is where it goes. So he says, set your intellect aside. Don't use it in these matters, right? So this is a big deal. Your religion, because so many of us and so many of the world have placed their religion in their mind. It's about their dogmas, about their philosophies, about their mythologies. And as long as your religion's about that, it's about difference. It's about what makes yours special and what makes yours better and what makes yours right. Right? But when we come to know that this is not an intellectual pursuit, that this is a pursuit of freedom by the heart, then we begin to see, hey, we're all in this together. You're trying to do it that way. I'm trying to do it this way. It worked for my teacher this way, and it worked for your teacher that way. Hey, we can walk together. We can respect each other's efforts. We can fan each other's flames, right? We can do better. And this is why we're practicing.
Maharaj,
Yeah.
doesn't this discernment start with the intellect though?
Oh, yes, it does. And is that, yes, is that a problem?
Well,
Discernment doesn't necessarily discern between right and wrong, right? It's about helpful and not helpful. It's about, Vivekananda said, higher truth and lower truth.
yeah, right.
And so that's the discernment. The discernment doesn't require judgment to make a value judgment about the things that we're discerning, right? All things are God.
Right.
That's why Thakur says, tie your Advaita in the corner of your devotee. If you're a bhakta, tie your Jnana, your Gyani. Don't tie a Jnana, tie a Gyani. I don't know. They're different. Anyway, tie them in the corner of your dhoti, which means remember them. Keep that as your philosopher's stone, right? And always understand when you're a bhakta, you're living in the world of duality. And when you're falling in love with someone, you're naturally going to think they're the best, right? And eventually, when you get super close and marry them, then you're thinking they're the only. Well, they are the only for you, but they're not the only wife in the world. Every other husband has a wife also. And hopefully they find them beautiful, and hopefully they find them to be their one and only. and then we can all hang out with each other and get along great. Don't go in, don't go to your neighbor's house and start telling him that you've got the only wife and the best wife, and whatever he's got, is wrong at best.
Right.
You see, like that. So yes, we discern, but the discernment, the intellect, the discernment is more about, is this helping me or is this hurting me? Is this giving me what I want? Is it fulfilling the promise that made me chase it? That's the question. This thing promised me something, you know, lust promised me something. I go and I engage. Then afterwards, I sit there and think, wait a minute. Where is the thing I gained?
So you use the buddhi to open the heart in a way.
Yes, well, to find your way back,
Right.
by letting go, by learning what to let go of.
What is
And
transitory and yes,
yes,
meaningless. Got it.
exactly. Meaningless, temporary, and only temporarily meaningless. All right. Very good. We're going to go for about 5 more minutes because I have to go down and get ready for the worship this weekend, the Durga worship. I'm going down to the convent to help them cut up food for thousands, seemingly. All right, so set your intellect aside. Don't use it in these matters. That's why we talked about that whole thing that we're going through right now with your meditation. You're not the doer in your practice, right? You're not the doer in your practice. And so don't sit down to do something. Sit down to be, and be what you are when nothing else is affecting you. Close out the mind, close out the body, and be in that silence and let yourself show you what you are, not the mind. We're trying to get out of the mind. We're trying to shut that down for now and come into the stillness. And in the stillness, you don't have to discern. In the stillness, it reveals. In the quiet, it reveals. And anything else, the mind thinking, you calculating, you jumping around with your attention, all of those things are the veil of Maya. They keep you from noticing that which is only evident when you are silent, when you are perfectly quiet. And then you learn a whole bunch real quick.
One quick thing, Maharaj. Just today, when I started doing my japa, like on the 10th repetition, the 10th time I said the mantra, it suddenly came to me, I don't have to do this. I get to do this. That changed the entire game for me, like from right there.
Wow, excellent, brother. That's exactly right. Mother says, if you find yourself doing your mantra, know that that is a direct sign of grace of my presence. That you say your mantra because of grace. That's absolutely right. And you don't have to do any of this. But we get to. It's an offering. Yes. All right. So setting our intellect aside, don't use it in these matters. Just be in the presence, and Mother will take care of the rest. The divine will take care of the rest. The universe, the divine reality that you are, will begin to manifest just through attention, right? Not even a doership. You know that 10 feet of rope that the goat has that Ramakrishna talks about for free will? Basically, what is that? The 10 feet of doership that you have is your ability to place attention. That's your 10 feet of rope. So what you place your attention on in your mind is the free will that you've been given. It will inspire actions and karmas from that. But the initial freedom is just simply your ability to place your attention on whatever you want. So if you bring your mind and keep it at the feet of God, that's how you've chosen God, right? If you place your mind on the senses and on memories of pleasures and joys and circumstances, then that's what you're worshiping. That's where you're going. That's the direction you're going. And so it's very subtle. You have to start becoming aware of where you're placing your attention. And that's why we meditate, to become aware of awareness, to become aware of our inner world, so that we see these things. Because everything that you touch with your attention is a very powerful prayer, right? And those prayers are always answered in the affirmative. You touch an identity, And the response of the universe is yes. But you also touched that. That's also a yes in the opposite direction. So let's take a summary and put all of these things together and come out. What's that called? When you sum something and divide it by the number of them, you get the mathematicians. Anybody?
The remainder?
Yeah, no, not the remainder. You get the average. You get the I can't forget it. I'll just throw my whole brain out. But you basically, God says yes to all of your prayers. Every thought and
Oh,
action is
the
a
average,
prayer.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
average, there we go.
The
Yeah, you get the
average.
average.
Yeah.
And so Mother always answers yes to your prayers. But you pray so many prayers a day. Every thought and every action is a prayer. So you get the sum total of that. You get the average of your day. And Mother's like, here. And you're like, but I prayed to be famous. And she's like, yes, but you slept through your audition. So you get the sum, you get the average of those two prayers put together. So I always tell people this moment is the summary of all of your desire. If you're not happy in it, reconsider your desires. Right? Reconsider your desires because they built your moment. Right? So better you can reconsider your desires. That's the long way around. The short way around is just forget them. Set them down and realize you didn't need them because you don't need a narrative to fulfill, to be happy. Happiness is the byproduct of being what you are. Learn what you are. All right. We'll do one more. No, I got to stop there for the day. So let me turn off the recorder here.